Marvel has been posting these teasers for Doomsday. Everyone is returning apparently. Characters who you thought were fully retired are somehow coming back. And I can't help but cringe. Is this really the level we're at? Preying on nostalgia? It's so frustrating looking back at what Marvel was and what it is today. Like, I want to like this, but it seems like every single creative decision is the wrong one. Over the past year, I've been so exhausted with Marvel, so I thought I'd try and collect my thoughts and piece together an answer as to why. Now, I could talk about how terribly these shows are formatted, but I think the sheer amount of them is somehow more of an issue. You know how many separate TV shows Marvel currently has, excluding all of the animated stuff, key MCU projects that have come out post-Endgame? It's 12 separate shows. People just don't have time to watch all of this. And just making this video, I learned that they're making a Wonder Man show. Why? This is well over 80 hours of just shows, not even including the post-Endgame movies. That's almost double the length of phases 1, 2, and 3 put together. I think Marvel would know that releasing 7 films a year is too much, so they relegated some of these projects to television. I couldn't imagine being a new fan coming into Marvel and seeing everything you have to catch up on. It's more than a daunting task, it's impossible. Some of the shows have gotten second seasons, some of them are one-offs, and now you get to play the game of which ones you actually have to watch to understand the grander story. You get this impression that everything is sort of crucial to Marvel with how they've been doing things for years, and I'll tell you this, you don't have to watch very many of them.
There's no strategy. I have no strategy.
So way back when, before Doctor Doom was ever teased, we had Kang the Conqueror. How many of you remember that guy? He wasn't exactly a household name, but Marvel has a good track record of taking these B-list characters and making them a star of the franchise. So I was confident this guy was gonna become cool. And the first time we are introduced to our new big multiversal villain, the guy who's gonna carry the franchise on his shoulders, is in a TV show. Now, it's a decent show, I'll give you that, but not everyone has time to do their homework so they can understand who the big movie villain is later that year. A lot of the general audience will not watch the shows. They're not conditioned to do that. And so a majority of casual Marvel fans won't really know who Kang is or why we should care about him. The first time that most people saw who Kang was in Ant-Man 3. This is his cinematic debut, not as a cameo, not as a little nod, but as the main villain. And this is wrong on a number of levels. First off, it's an Ant-Man movie. And secondly, Kang gets his ass handed to him by Ant-Man in the first movie of Phase 5. Imagine if Thanos took Loki's spot in Avengers 1, and then the Avengers beat him in their first movie. Would anyone still care about Thanos? Probably not. Now imagine how audiences reacted to this. You see Ant-Man beat up Kang. You're thinking, okay, this is like an Ultron, this is like an Ironmonger, a one-off movie villain. There's no way this is the new big bad of the MCU. Ladies and gentlemen, Kang Dynasty. And yes, in Ant-Man 3, they only beat one of the Kangs. His whole shtick is that he always comes back, but who cares? The moment you see this guy lose on screen to Ant-Man, he loses all credibility as a villain in the eyes of the audience. The first scene of Thanos in Infinity War is him beating the green off of Hulk and then killing Loki. That is how you introduce a villain. The reason this works is because it shakes up the status quo. Up to this point, we've seen the Hulk just shred through everybody. And here we have Thanos taking him on in hand-to-hand combat without any stones, without any help, and winning. This is how you get the audience to care about a villain. And you're thinking, maybe the Avengers won't win this time. Now, if you compare that to Kang, he's kind of lame now, and it's so easy to fix this. You can fix Ant-Man 3 so easily. Ant-Man 3 could have actually been good. This is how you do it. You just don't have Kang in the movie. A cameo at the end, that's all we needed. Don't have him be the main villain. MODOK. That's your guy. That's your one-off movie villain. And don't mess with Kang's credibility, because that ruins everything. I can see it now, actually. The post-credit scene is MODOK. You know, he visits Kang and tells him Ant-Man got away. And then Kang, in his anger, obliterates MODOK. That's all we needed. Make me feel his power. Make me feel dread. And it makes it worse that the whole Loki show is building up Kang as this very, very bad guy.
But someone is coming. Countless different versions of a very dangerous person, and they're all set on war. We need to prepare.
And the first movie he's in, he loses. And you're telling me our next huge Endgame is going to be a bunch of the guys who lost to Ant-Man versus the Avengers.
Christ, who wrote this?
And so a month after the movie released, Kang's actor did some, not so good stuff, yada yada, court case, yada yada, kicked out of the MCU. From the point of view of Marvel, Loki Season 2 still comes out as normal, no major changes there, but now we have a problem. We can decide to either recast the character of Kang, I mean, we've done it before with Hulk and War Machine and Red Skull and Red Hulk and actually even Thanos, and we can probably do it again with Kang, or we can pivot entirely and pick a new villain and just sort of scrap everything up to now. Fans already know that Kang is supposed to be the big baddie of this franchise. We already announced Kang Dynasty a year before Loki Season 2 ever came out. So do we recast and keep this going? Maybe try to beef up Kang as a villain? Nah, let's pivot. Kang is out, Dr. Doom is in. Now initially, I didn't think this was a bad idea. Doom is way cooler than Kang, and his introduction wasn't great anyway, so maybe there is something here, and there's definitely a way to make it work, but this is wrong. And it just confirms that Marvel is scrambling and using the classic Disney Star Wars play, nostalgia bait. Marvel does a big rebrand, they scratch Kang Dynasty, replace it with Doomsday, no real mention of what happens to Kang, he just sort of fades into nothingness, and that's my biggest problem with all of this. Doomsday doesn't feel earned, it's the safe play, it's the replacement. At the time, we had never seen anything like Infinity War before, but now there's an expectation to deliver, to top what came before it. And Marvel's new lineup isn't working, so let's fix that. Welcome back, Robert Downey Jr. and also Chris Evans, because we already know this sells tickets. Now, would one of the largest, if not the largest, and most recognizable superhero actors be my first choice for Dr. Doom casting? No. Would it be my second? Probably not. Maybe 50th. There are so many talented actors out there. Everyone's popular pick is Mads Mikkelsen, which would be awesome. He fits the bill perfectly, but I don't want to talk about how perfect he would be, but how unperfect RDJ is. Great actor, but he just doesn't have it. You know what he does have? A decade of playing Iron Man. Everyone loves this guy. And would this get me back in the theater just because it's Robert Downey Jr.? Yeah, it probably would, and that's why they're doing it. And they're paying him $100 million to play Doom. Let me say that again. $100 million. That's a substantial chunk of change. More than enough to sway the look of a movie. Imagine they got a different actor. Maybe a more faithful adaptation. Maybe someone who isn't already one of the most recognizable superheroes ever. Pay them a human salary, maybe only $50 million, and use a larger chunk of that budget for VFX, because we both know Marvel's had some issues as of late. And yes, Mads Mikkelsen is already in the MCU. He was the villain in the first Doctor Strange movie 10 years ago, but I don't care. Of the two actors that have already been in this franchise, picking the one that is more prominent seems like the wrong answer. And now we have one more movie before Doomsday comes out, that new Spider-Man movie. I thought once RDJ came out as Doom, we were going to see a slowdown. They were going to push Doomsday a little further down the release schedule and take some time to build him up as the villain he's meant to be. But no, we're not gonna start over, we're gonna keep it going where it's at. And Marvel gave us one post-credit scene in Fantastic Four and said, yeah, that's enough, there's your Doom intro, not even 3 seconds. This feels like Avengers 1 just came out with Thanos in his chair, and the next movie is Infinity War. What happened to everything else? Where's the build-up? Are we just skipping past that? Is that what the shows were meant to do? In the original saga, there were so many hints at Thanos. Guardians 1, Gamora's whole story is her trying to break free from Thanos. You get that sense that he's in the background. While the Avengers are fighting Ultron, Thanos is always there. He's always watching, he's plotting, he's scheming. I don't get that feeling with Doom, because he just kind of got here. Now, as far as Doomsday goes, if they take away all these legacy characters, Thor, Captain America, X-Men, what's left? Thunderbolts? Fantastic Four? Who really cares? The reason the Infinity War saga works as a blend is because we've had so much time with these characters, multiple sequels and crossovers. There was a sense of direction. In those OG movies, they would lead up to stuff, revisit characters. This is going in every direction. This franchise is expanding so rapidly. It's stretching too thin to actually build anything real. We don't have any rapport with these new characters. We haven't even seen some of them in years. Rewatching this entire multiversal saga will feel like one of the most exhausting experiences of your life, because it is constantly introducing new characters and never delivering on anything greater. The only standalone movie in phases 1 to 3, a movie that didn't get a sequel, is the first Hulk movie without Mark Ruffalo. You can't even really count that. Remember Moon Knight? Remember that guy? His show came out 4 years ago. I really liked that show. I liked it so much I went out and bought some Moon Knight comics. Where's that guy? What about the new Hawkeye or the Eternals or Shang-Chi or She-Hulk or Ant-Man? Is he gone now because Kang is like completely done? That'd kind of suck. We have so many characters here and they are continuing to develop more and more. Echo, Ironheart, Agatha, Skrulls. Stop adding more stuff. Use what we already have. The reason this is such a problem for me is that for the past 12 years, Marvel has made a commitment to creating synergy between their characters, not growing outward but growing inward. Infinity War and Endgame are able to juggle such an enormous cast because we've seen these people for years across multiple world-ending events. We know how they act, and that is the beauty of time. We don't need introductions and can jump right into the action. And now they're throwing it all away, deciding we're just gonna do whatever feels good in the moment. All I can picture is a bunch of Disney interns shooting darts at a list of available characters and saying, yeah, let's do that one. You want a Wonder Man show? Boom, there you go. This saga is coming to a close with so many loose ends, it's sloppy. And it feels like the only reason they're making all these separate projects is so they have someone to fight Doom. And yeah, I get that they want to develop multiple teams, like a street level group and then a cosmic team, but it's just too much. You can't do everything that the comics do because the difference in time to develop a comic versus a movie or a show is astronomical. The comics can have such an expansive world because there are dozens of writers creating stories in every corner. And I can see it now. We're gonna get Doomsday and then Secret Wars. None of the characters will have ever met before, and they're gonna give each other that nod. You know the nod, the one of, yeah, we don't really know each other, but we're gonna beat this guy up. I don't even know how these movies could be structured with the amount of characters teased. Who is it gonna follow? And the only way I see Doomsday being good at all is if it's 6 hours long. Not only to develop our endless cast, but also our villain. Take me back to Infinity War. I still vividly remember when Falcon and the Winter Soldier just came out, and I had hope. All I could think about was how cool this new Marvel was gonna be. Boy, was I wrong.